Hello everyone and welcome. Today I want to share a perspective that might just change the way you face challenges in life, a perspective rooted in ancient wisdom and practical reality. In our fast-paced world, where every word and every reaction seems amplified, I invite you to consider the strength found in silence. Yes, you heard that right. Sometimes the most powerful response is to not react at all, to cut off distractions and negativity silently. Before we continue, I must ask you to stick with me until the end. Each moment in this video builds a case for a mindset that can transform your interactions and inner peace. Trust me, skipping any part of this message means missing out on insights that could empower you to live a calmer, more focused life. We often find ourselves caught in a whirlwind of emotions. A harsh comment, an unexpected criticism, or even the smallest provocation can stir up feelings that lead to hasty reactions. It's almost instinctual to lash out or engage in conflict when we feel attacked. But what if I told you that there's an alternative, a way to reclaim your power by choosing silence over reaction? This idea isn't about suppressing your feelings or being passive. It's about harnessing your inner strength to determine when and if you engage. The ancient Stoic philosophers understood this deeply. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." In these words lies a profound truth. Much of our suffering comes not from what actually happens to us, but from how we interpret those events. When we react impulsively, we let our imagination take over, magnifying the negativity far beyond its true measure. Instead, by choosing a pause, a moment of silence, we allow ourselves the space to see things as they really are. This clarity can be the difference between a wasted outburst and a measured response that serves your best interests. Now, consider for a moment the idea expressed by Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple yet powerful statement captures the essence of Stoic thought. Our lives are filled with events beyond our control. However, the way we choose to respond to these events is entirely within our power. By not reacting impulsively, you take back control over your emotions and, ultimately, your destiny. I remember a time in my own life when I was constantly bombarded by criticism and negativity. Every slight, every harsh word felt like an attack on my very being. My instinct was always to defend, to explain, to justify. But over time, I learned that every reactive moment only fed the fire. It wasn't until I began to embrace silence that I discovered a strength I never knew I had. In the stillness of a measured pause, I found clarity. I realized that sometimes the best response is no response at all. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. By choosing silence, I was no longer giving power to those who sought to disturb my peace. This isn't a call to ignore problems or to let injustices pass unchallenged. Rather, it's an invitation to choose your battles wisely. Imagine a moment when anger threatens to overtake you, a moment when every fiber of your being screams to react. In that instant, you have a choice. You can either allow the tide of emotion to carry you away, or you can stand firm and let silence be your answer. That choice is an act of empowerment. It is a declaration that your inner peace is far more valuable than the fleeting satisfaction of a reactive response. Think back to a time when you let a minor insult spiral into a conflict. In hindsight, you might see that the moment of anger was brief, but its consequences lingered much longer. The Stoics teach us that by pausing, by choosing silence, we disrupt the cycle of reactive behavior. We prevent a small spark from igniting a raging fire. It's a discipline, a practice of self-control that, once honed, grants you the freedom to live with greater intention. In this journey, you'll learn that silence is not a sign of weakness, but a mark of inner strength. It speaks of a mind that has mastered the art of discernment. When you hold back your reaction, you're not conceding defeat. You're demonstrating that you value reason over emotion. You're telling the world and yourself that you are in charge of your reactions, not the other way around. Let me share a thought. Every moment you choose silence over reaction is a moment when you choose to invest in your own growth. You're creating a buffer between external chaos and your inner sanctuary. With each silent pause, you affirm that your emotional well-being matters more than the temporary satisfaction of a heated exchange. And this is a lesson that goes far beyond interpersonal conflicts. It's a philosophy that can transform your entire approach to life. I urge you to reflect on this. How often do we allow external circumstances to dictate our inner state? The Stoic wisdom reminds us that while we cannot control what happens around us, we always have the power to choose our response. By consciously deciding to remain silent in the face of provocation, you're not just avoiding a fight, you're cultivating a resilience that will serve you in every area of your life. As Epictetus reminds us, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. It might seem challenging at first, especially in a society that often rewards the loud and the reactive. But I promise you that with practice, this discipline becomes a source of immense personal power. Every time you resist the urge to respond impulsively, you reinforce your ability to remain calm, composed, and true to your inner self. This is not about denying your emotions, but about transforming them into something constructive, a wellspring of inner strength that guides your actions with clarity and purpose. So, as we embark on this exploration of silence, I encourage you to stay with me. Let these ideas take root and grow within you. Remember, every insight shared in this video is designed to help you build a more resilient, centered version of yourself. Trust in the wisdom of the past, as embodied by the ancient Stoics, and allow it to illuminate your path forward. In the quiet moments of reflection, you will find that the most profound truths are often whispered, not shouted. Thank you for listening so far. As you continue to engage with this message, I invite you to consider how the power of silence might be the key to unlocking your true potential. In choosing to cut off the noise and embrace thoughtful silence, you're taking a stand for self-control, for inner peace, and for a life guided not by reaction, but by deliberate, meaningful action. As we delve deeper, let me share a story, a moment of transformation that embodies the very essence of embracing silence. There was a time not long ago when I found myself ensnared in a spiraling cycle of heated exchanges. Every word exchanged, in anger, left an echo in my heart that I couldn't quite shake off. I remember one particular incident when I was confronted by someone who seemed intent on stirring up controversy. In that moment, the familiar urge to retaliate pulsed through me. But instead of plunging into the fray, I paused. I let the silence stretch between us, as if drawing an invisible boundary around my inner peace. This pause was not born of weakness, but of a conscious decision to master my reaction. In that stillness, I recalled the words of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That moment of quiet allowed me to observe my emotions without being overwhelmed by them. I understand how challenging it can be to withhold a reaction when every instinct urges you to respond. Society often conditions us to believe that silence is a void, a lack of action, of engagement. But what if I told you that silence is a profound form of engagement? It's a deliberate choice that speaks volumes about the respect you have for your own emotional well-being. Instead of fueling the flames of conflict, silence offers you a chance to step back and evaluate the true nature of the situation. It grants you the space to see beyond the immediate provocation and understand that often the real battle is waged within our own minds. Consider for a moment the idea of internal strength. This strength isn't measured by the loudness of your voice or the intensity of your reaction, but by the calm and composed stance you maintain when faced with adversity. Marcus Aurelius once observed, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." By choosing silence over immediate reaction, you refuse to mirror the negativity around you. Instead, you embrace a higher standard, a standard defined by self-discipline and wisdom. This decision is not made in isolation. It echoes the teachings of Stoic philosophy, which encourage us to focus on what lies within our control, our thoughts and responses. I want you to imagine a scenario. You're in the middle of a disagreement, the air thick with tension. Your heart races, and every instinct screams for you to lash out. Yet, in that charged moment, you choose to breathe deeply, to let the silence speak for you. That silence is not empty. It is filled with clarity and resolve. It is the space where anger subsides, replaced by a thoughtful consideration of what truly matters. By not reacting impulsively, you create an opportunity to transform a potentially destructive encounter into a moment of self-discovery and growth. There is a subtle power in this act of silence. It's a power that comes from understanding that you are not defined by the external chaos, but by your ability to navigate it with grace. The Stoics teach us that while we cannot control every situation, we can always control our response. Every silent pause is an affirmation of that control, a deliberate decision to prioritize your inner tranquility over the fleeting satisfaction of an emotional outburst. As Epictetus wisely stated, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. With each moment of deliberate silence, you fortify your spirit, laying the groundwork for a more resilient, centered existence. In a world where noise often drowns out wisdom, choosing silence becomes an act of rebellion, a way to reclaim your mental space and dedicate it to introspection and growth. It's a subtle yet powerful form of resistance against a culture that equates reactivity with strength. You might find yourself wondering, isn't silence just a void? Doesn't it signify passivity? But in truth, silence is rich with potential. It allows you to process your thoughts, to discern what is truly worth your energy, and to respond in a way that aligns with your values rather than the momentary surge of emotion. I invite you to consider the ripple effects of such a choice. When you opt for silence instead of reaction, you're not just calming a single moment, you're cultivating a habit of self-mastery that permeates every aspect of your life. This habit transforms not only how you interact with others, but also how you perceive the world around you. Instead of being swept away by external turbulence, you remain anchored in a state of inner balance, equipped to handle whatever comes your way. This is the essence of Stoic resilience, a resilience that empowers you to face life's challenges with unwavering calm. There's an old adage that suggests, "He who angers you, conquers you." In embracing silence, you essentially refuse to grant that power over yourself. Instead, you stand firm in your conviction that your inner peace is sacred, deserving of protection from the unnecessary turmoil of reactive impulses. Each silent moment is a small victory, a declaration that you are the master of your own mind and that no external force can dictate your emotional state. I encourage you, as you listen to these words, to reflect on your own experiences. Think about a time when a reaction led to regret, when words spoken in haste caused more harm than good. Now imagine if, in that critical moment, you had chosen silence. Picture the calm, the clarity, the space for a more measured response. This is not a call for inaction, but rather a call for mindful action, a call to engage with life on your own terms, guided by wisdom and a deep understanding of your own intrinsic worth. As we journey together through these reflections, remember that the power of silence is not about avoiding the world. It's about engaging with it more thoughtfully. It's about recognizing that every reaction carries with it a cost to your peace, to your energy, and ultimately to your happiness. By choosing silence, you're opting to conserve your strength for what truly matters. You're deciding that your inner harmony is far more valuable than the transient satisfaction of an impulsive reply. In moments of conflict, when the noise of the world seems too overwhelming, take a breath and remember that silence can be your most potent tool. It is the space where wisdom is born, where clarity prevails over chaos. The teachings of the ancient Stoics are a testament to this truth. They remind us that true power lies not in the volume of our responses, but in the restraint and deliberation that we apply when faced with adversity. So, as you continue on your journey, I urge you to embrace silence, not as an absence, but as a profound presence. Let it be a guiding force in your interactions, a reminder that you hold the power to choose how you respond to every challenge. And above all, stay with me through every word of this message, for each insight shared here is a step toward a more peaceful, empowered life. Thank you for staying tuned. In the next part of our conversation, we'll explore how this philosophy not only applies to personal conflicts, but can also transform the way we navigate the complexities of modern life. Every moment you invest in learning to master your reactions is a moment invested in a future filled with purpose and resilience. Remember, your journey toward a more centered life is worth every second. Stay with me, and let's continue this exploration together. As we draw closer to the end of this conversation, I want you to take a deep, deliberate breath. Let these final words sink in as the culmination of a journey that has taken us from reactive impulses to the liberating embrace of thoughtful silence. It's been a long, winding path filled with insights, reflective pauses, and the timeless wisdom of the Stoics, wisdom that calls us to rise above the clamor of everyday conflicts. In this final stretch, I invite you to reflect on the power you hold within. Every time you choose not to react immediately, every moment of silence that you gift yourself, you are making a statement. You are saying that you will not be dictated by transient emotions or external provocations. Instead, you're choosing to engage with the world from a place of inner calm and clarity. Remember that the essence of Stoic philosophy is not to avoid life's difficulties, but to face them with the steady mind of one who understands that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Marcus Aurelius wisely observed, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." With these words, he reminds us that obstacles are not to be feared. They are the very stepping stones to a more resilient self. Imagine a scenario where you are met with harsh words or unexpected criticism. In that moment, the impulse to respond loudly or defend yourself might be overwhelming. But if you pause and allow that silence to take hold, you create a gap, a space where reason can triumph over emotion. This silence isn't empty or passive. It's brimming with potential. It's the quiet before a storm of insight, the calm that precedes a breakthrough in understanding. Epictetus's words echo here. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In choosing silence, you decide that your reaction is a conscious act, not a knee-jerk response. You reclaim your power. Throughout this journey, we have explored the transformative nature of silence. We have seen that it is not a retreat, but an advance, a step forward toward mastering your inner world. When you cut off the noise and let silence take the stage, you're not merely avoiding conflict. You're embracing a higher standard of self-discipline and respect. You're saying, "I value my inner peace more than the temporary satisfaction of a heated exchange." This is the core of what it means to be a Stoic, To understand that true strength lies in self-control and measured thought, not in the fleeting victories of reactive anger. Consider the ripple effect of each silent moment. It's not just about diffusing a single conflict. It's about building a habit, a life pattern that aligns with your deepest values. Every time you refrain from reacting impulsively, you are reinforcing a truth that your emotional well-being is sacred. This habit, once ingrained, extends far beyond personal interactions. It influences your work, your relationships, and the way you perceive the world around you. In a culture that often equates noise with power, choosing silence is a radical act of self-preservation. It is a reminder that you are not defined by external chaos, but by the quiet strength that resides within. Let your mind wander back to moments of past turmoil, times when words fired in anger left scars that no apology could mend. Imagine how different those moments could have been if you had taken a step back, embraced silence, and let reason guide your response. These are not mere hypotheticals. They are lessons from your own life. Each of those moments is a call to change, a reminder that you are the master of your fate, capable of choosing calm over chaos. In the timeless words of Seneca, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Often it is our reactions that magnify our pain, turning small provocations into lasting wounds. When you learn to silence those reactions, you also silence the echo of suffering that follows. This isn't an abstract philosophy. It's a practical, everyday tool that you can wield at any moment. Every silent pause is an act of rebellion against a world that constantly demands reaction, that insists you match every external insult with an equally loud response. It is a quiet revolution, one that begins in your heart and radiates outward. By choosing silence, you are not withdrawing from the world. You are engaging with it on your own terms. You are asserting that your inner state is more important than the transient dramas that often surround you. As we conclude, I want you to carry with you the understanding that silence is a profound act of self-care. It is a deliberate choice that can transform your interactions and your entire way of being. Each moment of silence is a step toward liberation, a liberation from the tyranny of constant reaction and a movement toward a life of thoughtful, deliberate action. Embrace this gift of silence as an essential part of your journey. Do not allow the world's noise to drown out the quiet voice of wisdom within you. Before you go, remember this. Every moment that you invest in learning to master your responses is a moment invested in your future well-being. Your commitment to silence, to choosing calm over chaos, is a commitment to a more fulfilling, centered life. The Stoic path is not an easy one, and it demands continuous practice, patience, and self-forgiveness. Yet, with each step you take, you become more attuned to the power of your inner world, a world where peace reigns supreme, and every action is guided by deliberate thought. I urge you to keep this message close to your heart as you navigate the challenges of life. Let it be a reminder that your true strength lies not in the noise you create, but in the silence you nurture. In a time when the world seems determined to provoke reaction at every turn, you have the power to choose differently. You have the power to cultivate a presence that is unshaken by external turmoil, a presence that echoes the wisdom of the ancients and speaks to the timeless truth that every action begins with a choice to be calm, to be wise, and to be at peace. As you continue forward, let this be your mantra. Do not react hastily. Do not allow the clamor of the world to disturb your inner sanctuary. Instead, cut off the noise silently and let your actions be guided by the deep, steady cadence of your inner wisdom. The journey is long and the practice is ongoing, but the rewards, a life of clarity, strength, and unassailable peace, are more than worth the effort. Thank you for staying with me through every word of this exploration. I hope these reflections inspire you to embrace the power of silence in your own life. Let these ancient teachings illuminate your path, and may you always remember that the greatest power lies in the mastery of yourself. Stay true, stay silent, and let your calm be the loudest voice of all.